Real quick, run through my 20 through 11. So Mike Binder's Blank Man is number 20, starring Damon Wayans. I've always had a real soft spot in my heart for this really weird superhero movie. Number 19 is Star Trek Generations. I've learned that Star Trek fans and movie fans in general don't like this one, but again, saw this in theaters when it came out. I was a kid, 12 years old. No, less probably. I would have been 10. Yeah, and I thought it was awesome. I still kind of think it's pretty cool. Number 18 is what I mean. Number 18, Naked Gun 33 and a Third, The Final Insults. Love these Naked Gun movies. This one was very formative in my puberty years because of Anna Nicole Smith. Number 17, John Waters' Serial Mom. Number 16, Airheads. This was directed by Michael Lehman. I used to think this was even higher on my list, but I watched it last year and was like, well, maybe this isn't quite as good as I thought it was, but still pretty entertaining with Steve Buscemi, Adam Sandler, and Brendan Fraser. Number 15 is Leon the Professional, which I rewatched recently because I wanted to do my Defending Luc Besson list, which was part of an episode we did with Jeff Richardson.
We did the Messenger Joan of Arc, the Joan of Arc, or the Joan of Arc, because Besson had done the Messenger, which you really like.
Totally. Number 14, we just talked about it, Ed Wood. Number 13, Time Cop, my favorite Jean-Claude Van Damme movie. Number 12, Forrest Gump, which I actually think is kind of underrated now. Same goes for my number 11, Shawshank Redemption. I feel like there's a lot of backlash against these movies because they're high up on the IMDb popular list.
Yeah, I know there's Forrest Gump backlash. There has been, ever since it came up. I didn't realize there was Shawshank backlash.
Yeah, I think people are just like, oh, Shawshank, obvious. So what an obvious choice.
Yeah.
Now my top 10. Number 10, Bullets Over Broadway by Woody Allen. We talked about it at great length. Not great length. It's a pretty short episode, but at length in this episode, I think we hit everything we needed to say about it. Very, very fun movie. Number 9, Greedy by Jonathan Lynn, who also directed My Cousin Vinny. This stars Kirk Douglas and Michael J. Fox. Kirk Douglas is the patriarch of a big family, and they all think he's about to die and they want his money. Michael J. Fox has gotten out and isn't one of these like leeches trying to get all the money from Kirk Douglas, but he gets drawn back in by the rest of the family members. It's really underseen, but also just based on Letterboxd reviews, really underrated. I think people don't like older comedies. And granted, comedy is really contingent on the time that it came out, but this one still hits for me. My number 8 is Isao Takahata's Pompoko, the kind of forgotten Studio Ghibli movie. If you are interested in seeing cartoon raccoon testicles, there's a lot of them in this. They have giant balls, and that's how they fight for their freedom. This movie is unhinged. Isao Takahata, the most underrated anime director ever. What a lunatic he was. My number 7 is Eat, Drink, Man, Woman by Ang Lee. What a great movie. My number 6 is James Cameron's True Lies, which has certainly found its audience now. What a great movie. One of Schwarzenegger's best. Jamie Lee Curtis was really great in this. And then Bill Paxton just steals the show. Number 5 is a movie I know you don't like. And we talked about this at great length in our Coen Brothers episode, but it's the Hudsucker Proxy. I love this one. I think Paul Newman is outstanding in it. My number 4 is Jan de Bont's Speed. Top-notch action. Keanu Reeves' breakout as far as I'm concerned. It was for me anyway. I'd never seen like My Own Private Idaho or Parenthood at that point, and certainly didn't think he'd be an action star. Amazing performances from Dennis Hopper, from Sandra Bullock, from Jeff Daniels. Kind of a perfect action movie. My number 3 is The Lion King, which we just talked about in our DreamWorks episode because the director of The Lion King also directed Peabody and Sherman, another really good animated movie. But The Lion King was not nominated for Best Picture because they made animated feature after Beauty and the Beast, right?
They didn't make animated feature until 10 years after Beauty and the Beast.
Then it's crazy that The Lion King didn't get nominated for Best Picture. That's wild.
I know. Yeah, again, I think people were really expecting it to, especially after Beauty and the Beast. And especially when you consider like, okay, I know, sorry, we're kind of interrupting the list here, but the Best Pictures, it was Forrest Gump 1, and then it was Pulp Fiction, Shawshank Redemption, Quiz Show. All of those make sense, right? And then the 5th one was Four Weddings and a Funeral, which is a good movie, but like...
Yeah, Curtis has like really stood the test of time in general, right? Like him as a filmmaker and writer he just made That Christmas this year.
Yeah.
And Tarantino seems to have quit the movie business prematurely. So, and Zemeckis made Here. I don't know, Four Weddings and a Funeral, you got to give one to the girlies. I think The Lion King is a better movie, but...
And a bigger movie and a more historically like... Yeah,
relevant for
sure.
I
do like Four Weddings and a Funeral. I think it's a good, funny movie.
Yeah, it did give us Love Actually, which is kind of a bummer. But I know you like Love Actually.
I do, but after I watched the pitch meeting on that one, I was like, that's one, like usually when he does his pitch meetings, like even though I still like the movie afterwards, like he's right, but I still like the movie, blah blah whatever. It's just funny. I watched the one for Love Actually, like, oh, this might not be a good movie.
He's so funny.
He's perfect, yeah.
My number 2 is Pulp Fiction, which I hope is not sacrilege because my number 1 is Quiz Show, which Guys, come on. You got to watch Quiz Show. Now, we've talked about Quiz Show a lot on this show because we love it so hard. It's directed by Robert Redford, stars Ray Fiennes and John Turturro as like these two totems of different walks of life in 1940s New York.
No, 50s. It was after Marty had won Best Picture.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That was the big plot point of the movie.
Yep.
How could I not know Marty?
Marty is my favorite movie. I saw it 3 times at the theater. Blah, blah, blah. Blah. Yeah.
Christopher McDonald is amazing in this. Is Jack Benny, not called Jack Benny in the movie, but he's playing Jack Benny. Mm-hmm. It's so good. Man, check out Quiz Show. Really underrated. I think it's better than Pulp Fiction.
Scorsese has a fun little role in that movie too as an actor, which you don't see very often.
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing but love for Quiz Show, as I'll mention when I get to my list.
There you go. Go for it.
All right. So we'll go real quick with the honorable mentions, the 20 through 11. First, I have the John Grisham adaptation of The Client, which was a book I really enjoyed at the time. The movie with Tommy Lee Jones and Susan Sarandon was pretty good. Number 19, I have Ron Howard's journalism comedy drama, The Paper. Number 18 is the aforementioned Four Weddings and a Funeral. Like I said, I do quite enjoy the movie. It was the first thing I saw Hugh Grant in, and I had already seen Andy McDowell in Groundhog Day. So, I mean, between Groundhog Day and this is like, well, Andy McDowell for life. Number 17 is a movie that was filmed many years before 1994, but didn't end up coming out until then due to it was Orion Studios, I believe. Went bankrupt, and the movie sat on the shelf for a little while. It's called Blue Sky. It was kind of famous at the time because Jessica Lange won her second Oscar for it. 16 is another Oscar-nominated film, Paul Newman in Nobody's Fool. Bruce Willis also has a pretty integral part in this movie, but he very unselfishly asked that his name be taken off the advertisements because he didn't want people to think that it was, quote, a Bruce Willis movie because it's a quiet, character drama, and he's, Paul Newman's the main star. So he thought having his name on that would create confusion. So I think that's pretty cool. Number 15, I have Neil Jordan's Interview with the Vampire. Just a ridiculous fun. I love Pitt and Tom Cruise and Antonio Banderas and Christian Slater. Speaking of fun, we've talked so much about how much Mel Gibson sucks, but my number 14 movie is Maverick, which I think is just such a fun movie. Him and Jodie Foster are great in it, and James Garner, who was in the Maverick show, pops up in this one too, and it's just a really, really funny movie. Number 13, we talked about a lot, Eat, Drink, Man, Woman. Really, really excellent movie. Number 12, I have Oliver Stone's controversial Natural Born Killers, which is just a kind of wild, crazy movie that, your mileage may vary. My number 11, James Cameron's True Lies, which, is just, Bill Paxton is just so funny in it. Tom Arnold is really funny in it. Schwarzenegger and Jamie Lee Curtis are great. Yeah, just a great, great action movie. Number 10, I have Leon the Professional, which I think is one of those movies that's both simultaneously really, really good and also kind of a bit overrated, where I don't think it's one of the greatest films of all time or anything, but I do think it's really, really cool. Also, Jean Reno's breakout here. Natalie Portman was really good in this, very young, but this list is going to be a little bit familiar. Number 9, I have Jan de Bont's Speed, otherwise known as the bus that couldn't slow down, and one of the greatest Simpsons one-liners ever. I've actually been talking about showing this movie to my kid. She's, almost 13, so talking about trying to start watching R-rated movies, and we thought Speed might be a good one.
Has she ever seen anyone's head fall off in a movie?
I don't think so.
So that's the big thing.
That's the big thing, and that's the only thing I could think of that would be even objectionable. But I think I was watching Speed when I was 13. I was watching lots of stuff when I was 13. So
fair enough.
It's just weird when it's your kid. You start thinking about your own kid versus what you did. Maybe should I have been doing that?
Right.
Anyway, Speed is one that has come up because there's just really only that one thing. Other than that, there's probably just language and stuff, which is like I said, she's 13. She rides the bus. She's heard it. Number 8, I have Forrest Gump, which, like you said, I think is a little bit underrated at this point. It's not perfect, and there's certainly stuff about it I would change, but the fact that they got a good, entertaining, watchable movie out of that train wreck of a novel, I think, is almost miraculous.
Because they changed everything.
Literally, everything. When I read the book, I was this doesn't even seem like the same thing. It's so strange that what they got from the movie, or how they got the movie out of that book, because it's not at all the same. It's so weird. 7, I have, again, another movie that I think is both very, very good and overrated, like Shawshank Redemption. I think Shawshank Redemption is excellent. But yeah, it's not it's always at in the top 1 or 2 on the IMDb, and I don't think it's that great. I do think that the poster thing at the end is a little bit hard to just hand wave away.
I find it interesting that movie is so popular, and so universal and so widely seen, when there's a lot of attempted rape in it. I'm just surprised by that.
It is surprising, but it's good. Tim Robbins is great in it. Morgan Freeman's great in it. I have it as my number 7 movie of the year. So obviously I do really like it, but I do, like I said, the top 1 or 2 movies of all time, I would say No. Number 6, one that you mentioned, is Ed Wood. One of the few Johnny Depp movies I would still probably rewatch at this point. I love the Ed Wood story. I think Martin Landau's great in it. Bill Murray, George the Animal Steel, fun cast, fun aesthetic to that movie. My number 5, we talked about quite a bit. Woody Allen's Bullets Over Broadway. Enjoyed this even more than I remembered, even more than I even thought I would. I think it's really, really clever, really, really funny. I think probably one of my favorite Woody Allen movies. Number 4, I have one that I for some reason thought you had seen and haven't, and I think you would like this too, is The Crow. Which is just a great movie. I rewatched it recently. My wife had never seen it, so we did it on Halloween a couple of years ago. The story, of course, is tragic. I mean, the way Brandon Lee died, on set, with an accidental, got shot is just so tragic. And I think that has helped the movie last as long as it has. But also, really, like, the story is just really good. The aesthetic is really cool. The soundtrack is amazing. It's got all these kind of hard rock, heavy metal bands of the 90s. It's very much a product of its time, but it also holds up. It's cool. The top 3 is going to be real familiar, because number 3, I have The Lion King, and then I have Quiz Show at 2 and Pulp Fiction at 1. I mean, Pulp Fiction was like such a huge deal for me, because I remember, like I said, I was kind of getting into the Oscars by this point, and I had knew that Pulp Fiction was up for Best Picture and some other things. Like, I remember being in a hotel with my family somewhere, and we're like, oh, let's watch a movie tonight. And like, guys, can we watch Pulp Fiction? Because it was like, that was when like hotels got movies way before you could get them on video. Like, well, let's watch that one. And we watched it. I remember my parents sent me out of the room because they knew what was about to happen when the Gimp comes out. So like, they sent me out of the room for that. So I didn't see it the first time I watched it, but then of course when it came out on video 6 months later, whatever it was, my friends and I watched it right away. Say what you will about Tarantino at this point and all the things that he's stolen from, but like, as a 13-year-old in 1994 or 5, I didn't know any of that stuff. So like, I'm watching Pulp Fiction and this thing's just blowing my mind. I mean, it's funny and it's violent and it takes place out of sequence, and there's all these just long monologues of things. I hadn't seen Reservoir Dogs at the time, so like, it was just a whole introduction to a thing that I just had didn't know that movies could do. Like, so it was like a really formative movie for me, and I still think holds up pretty well. My wife and I will quote it every once in a while, just like get giggle fits with each other, because some of it's just so ridiculously funny.
Hard to argue with any of that. Clearly, I didn't see Pulp Fiction until I was a little bit older. Like I said, I was 10 at the time, and I read the script first, which means I would have had to have been at least 14 when I got my hands on that. And then it would have been like a year or two after that, or maybe it was right after that. Maybe I came home from New York and was like, I got to watch this movie. But it was my mom's. I remember she came back from the theater and was like, that's the best thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
So I was always super curious about it. And it's my number 2 movie of the year. I mean, it's great. It's interesting to say what you will about Tarantino stealing stuff. Like, what are movies, if not iterating on the movies that came before? It's funny. I see like reviews of certain movies that I think are interesting because of how they're iterating on old movies. People are like, oh, I just didn't understand this, that, and the other. And I'm like, I'm begging you to watch something else. Like, watch more movies.